God, you've been our refuge in every generation. Before the mountains came into being, before you brought forth the earth and the world, from eternity to eternity, you are God. And you remind us that we are mortal. The days of our years are 70, or by reason of strength, 80 years. But 1,000 years in God's sight are but as yesterday when it is past. Teach us, therefore, to number our days that we may attain a heart of wisdom. And may your favor of God be upon us. Establish the work of our hands, that it may long endure. Rodger will be so happy to see all of you in this space. And I imagine the greatest thrill would be not only seeing the people that he saw regularly, but some of you who he hadn't seen in years, and he'd want to bring you together. And you remember when I told you this one? Didn't we water ski? Yeah. Well, we read that. Yeah, I drank too much too. And just the stories, like so many stories, just endless stories about connection and love and laughter. So much laughter. That's what it was about. And also the truth that we knew about Rodger is that he was much more complex than he ever wanted to admit to anyone. And I've thought about that a lot as cancer stole away more and more of his ability to be cogent and on point. I think Rodger spent a lot of his life looking for his center. The center, the most compressed part of his soul. And I think part of it was simply, he grew up with Bill and Eve. How do you find another relationship, another husband and wife that reflected the way that they were, or at least the way Bill narrated it? Just to be fair, because I also knew he wasn't exactly a pushover either, but as far as Bill was concerned, she could do no wrong. She walked on water. Whatever religious tradition you're from, she did it. And I think Rodger felt like, well, I want some of that too. I don't know if he ever could kind of figure out how to get there, or the fact that the alchemy of two people together is not something that can be replicated because you grew up in it, or that you wanted it. It's all about how each one of us build our own the scaffolding around our souls, and then how we find the people that will help elevate us. So that part, I think, was really hard. And all of you were there to help him, because that's how he got to the center, not on his own, but through you. It was like he used kind of a refraction of light and of spirit, of your light and spirit. And that filled him up. And when Rodger was filled up, our lives were great. Because he was there. So many people have told me things like, I needed to get to the airport, and I complained about it the other day. And then I got a phone call at 3 in the morning that Rodger would be there in 20 minutes. I didn't ask for that. Didn't have to ask. His love language, to belabor that just for a bit, was really service. He wanted to be there for all of us, and it was an extraordinary experience. I thought about the movie It's a Wonderful Life, and you've all seen it, of course. So you know that George Bailey's bumbling guardian angel is Clarence, who desperately tries to help George see that his life was worth living, every minute of it, and the influence he had, how exceptional it was. And it's only towards the end, when George sees that he's losing everything, it's only in that moment that he's able finally at last to understand the impact that he made on so many people he didn't even know. But that it was because of him that so many people lived lives of dignity and joy. And so at the very end of the movie, right before that little trite line when Zuzu says, she hears the bell ringing, it's the scene where George finds a book. And what is the book? The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. You just replace Rodger's life, right? The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. And he opens this book up. And inside Clarence, his guardian angel, who now sees he has succeeded, that George sees his life. What is his dedication? Remember, George, no man is a failure who has friends. Rodger wrote the obituary for his dad, who he buried from here not that long ago. This is what he said about his dad, but I think we can really see the resonance of these two men, these roommates, his father and son, these partners, little inept sometimes, let's just be honest, in business, in life. But so convinced of each other's integrity, love, and care for each other. So this is what he wrote. Rodger wrote about his dad. Simply put, Bill was a sweet and lovely man, always ready with a hug, a smile, and a kind word. He was a stand-up guy, the salt of the earth, and a person of integrity. In short, he was a mensch. What more need to be said? You who are from so many different facets of his life, who knew him from so many different contexts, from primary school, high school, college, the endless high school. He would have had a high school reunion every year, left on his own devices. Anywhere and everywhere, whatever point it is that you're from. We all remember this unique, searching man. The friendship that he gave you that was priceless, incomparable. But please don't forget how much you gave him. You were his raison d'etre. You kept him going. You put up with the occasional pauses when he would disappear, and then ready when he showed back up again like nothing had happened. You stuck by him as he stuck by you no matter what. And to have said goodbye to his mom and dad right from here and now to Rodger, I feel like this fact and your presence makes Rodger's soul open up into full and glorious light. The 23rd Psalm is one that we read at funerals and memorial services. And it's a way of remembering that even in the darkest of places, that God's presence abides, and that we who mourn, our eyes are cast down doing the work of mourning, but to know that the time comes that when we raise our eyes, we lift up our eyes, that the Holy One is there waiting for us. It's in the flyer that you received upon entering the sanctuary. I invite you to read with me Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. About 7 months ago, Rodger and I had a conversation about this day. I have no idea what that is. A lost woodpecker? Just Rodger peeking in. Pay attention to me while we work this technological issue. We talked about this day and the funeral that he wanted, and you might know that for Rodger, talking about death was no walk in the park. But there was something that I think was really compelling him. he really understood his days were numbered in a way that he had not really given an opportunity for that to enter his consciousness. But now it was, and so he had the idea of what he wanted, that he wanted to see you here. And he wanted 2 people to speak. 2 people. But in doing that, he also realized there were about 200 people that wanted to speak. And so we worked out a great compromise, really. And the compromise is as follows. So we do have our 2 eulogists today, but what he really wanted after this was at the Cooper residence, and the address is in your flyer. It really is, Rodger. Sort of menacing. Well, what is it? It's a bird. It really is a bird. It is Rodger, so we're just going to let him sing along. What Rodger wanted, and he's punctuating it now, is that tonight and tomorrow night at the Cooper residence will be a shiva, a sitting shiva, a traditional way for friends and family to say mourners Kaddish, but also equally, if not more importantly, for friends to tell stories. And I think that Rodger really wanted to make sure, and I didn't talk to the Coopers about this, and I'm sure you're taking care of this, which is there'd be a lot of food and drink. And that would sort of, help the stories emerge. And so I wanted to reassure you that by visiting and being part of the Shiva observance, that it's an opportunity for you to tell the stories that are so fundamental to your understanding of your connections, for many of you decades-long connections to me and Rodger. First, Howard Cooper, who, along with his wife, have really helped to provide Rodger shelter from the storm, and has some words to share.
Morning, everybody. Thanks to each and every one of you for being here so we can say goodbye to Rodger, Raj, Sai, Roscoe, all the other names by which we call him. More importantly, thank you all for being there for Rodger, as you all have been since he became ill, and especially over the last few months. I had what was really a pretty unique perspective to watch what was your really incredible outpouring of love and friendship towards Rodger in a moment that we're living where it's really easy to be cynical about pretty much everything. Your love for Rodger was just a remarkable thing to witness. You all came to be with him, and then you came back, and then you came back again. It wasn't a matter of checking a box to go see a dying friend for an hour. You came and you made him meals, and sat with him, and ate with him, and talked with him. Took him out for meals, for walks, to go bowling, to golf, computerized golf. I didn't even know that existed. Your kids came with you because they wanted to see Rodger. At one point, we had so much food in our house. Barry's white fish salad, of course, chicken soup, pizza, that not only couldn't we eat it, but we couldn't fit it anywhere. But most importantly, I want to tell you that what you all did mattered, because it mattered so much to Rodger. I mean, I saw it. Somewhat unexpectedly, Rodger was unbelievably heroic in the face of his diagnosis and knowing that he was going to die. Yet I literally, not once, ever heard him complain. I did not once hear him be sorry for himself. Rodger was hardly as stoic, and many of us, including me, can attest to the fact that he was very capable of complaining. And I know that he feared death like we all do, and I really know that he hated being sick. So to me, the only thing that explains how Rodger was able to get through everything he was faced, the way he got through it, is that he knew that he was loved, because all of you made him know that, and to really feel it deep in his bones and in his soul. I know we have probably all thought the same thing. For an only child whose parents are gone, no one has ever had more brothers and sisters or a bigger family than Rodger. Rabbi Stern asked a few of us a couple of days ago when we were talking about Rodger's funeral, what was it about Rodger that made all of you want to be his friend? And I know we all have our own answers to this question, but let me give you mine. First, of all of the laughs that I've had since I met Rodger 50 years ago, an overwhelmingly disproportionate number have been with him. Whether just the two of us or together with many of you. That was our friendship. We laughed. Usually about stupid things. Sometimes about the same thing, the same image, the same quote from a song or a movie over and over again. And that's what we did for a lifetime. Rodger found humor in everything, and he helped me do the same. He had a keen wit. If a difficult situation required humor to deal with it, he would find it, just to make things lighter. One of the first things he told me after getting his diagnosis was that he wanted to talk about the moral relativity of using his diagnosis to go down to Florida and deal with our political future. We actually talked about whether someone would ever really indict him if he had a brain tumor. Rodger had I don't mean to be political, I'm sorry. As many of you know, Rodger wore his Kennedy button until the 2000s. Rodger had a true gift for describing and calling out the absurdity of things in life and laughing about it and helping me to do the same. After Rodger had passed away and the nurse was checking him for vital signs, no matter how hard I tried as I stood there, no matter how heartbreaking things felt, I could not prevent my mind from going where I thought Rodger's mind would go. If he were the one standing over me. A different movie, Rabbi, and that is Love and Death. Rodger and I watched that movie on Christmas Eve for years while eating Chinese food, unless of course he had a date. In my mind, I saw Rodger as the Woody Allen character, Boris, following a hooded death into the afterlife, across a green hill, dancing and laughing, after having been told by the bright light of God the prior evening that no, he would not be shot at dawn. When another character calls out to him, Boris, what happened? The Boris character responds, smiling at the absurdity of life, and says, I got screwed. Rodger was easy to like because, as we all know, he was all in on everything, and that made him fun to be around. If a band we liked was playing near us, he insisted we go. If a Thanksgiving Day football game needed to be organized, he organized it. Our high school reunions were all his creations. Years of regular nights out at Cityside in Cleveland Circle. He really was our glue. He brought us together and he stuck us together, kept us together. And you know, it's just easy to be friends with someone who is that committed to being your friend. Rodger was tenacious and creative. He liked to try different things. He and I bought a water ski boat together, as many of you know. First time we went out to the lake, I learned that Rodger didn't know how to water ski. I remember an afternoon on a lake in Harvard where we used to sneak in as Harvard residents, where Rodger tried over and over to get up out of the water on his skis for the first time. He did not give up until he did. And then he became a great water skier. I mean, great. He went to a professional water ski school in Florida. That's how all in he was. I should mention that inside that casket with Rodger is his favorite slalom ski. Rodger, my friend, wherever you are going, I hope there's a perfect sheet of ice-like water for you to ski on. Rodger was also very kind. He was kind to me and to my family. He was a good friend to me when I had my own problems. He was there when my kids arrived. He developed his own relationship with them, especially my youngest. In the end, though, Rodger also gave me personally the profound gift of just letting me and my family help him when he needed it. He put his trust in me, and while it wasn't easy to watch him die, that particular gift was his ultimate act of being my friend. So, Rodger, all I can say, yes indeed. What a long, strange trip it's been. I will miss you on the rest of the journey. Rest in peace, brother. I thank you. Chris Patrick.
Good morning. My name is Chris Pachi, or to Rodger Potch, and more recently, Boychuk. Rodger landed in my life 50 years ago in 1972, when he joined our 8th grade class at the Park School. His parents, Edie and Bill, had wanted him in a more structured school environment than his public junior high, Meadowbrook, and Newton could offer them. Let's just say this, Rodger did not tiptoe into Park School. He blew in like a gale. He knew one volume, loud. He had a strong Boston accent. He was a huge sports fan. He wore outrageous bell-bottoms and platform shoes. In music class, the music teacher handed out recorders for us to play. Rodger, he showed up with an alto saxophone and a clarinet. At dance parties, people played Cat Stevens and Jethro's Tull. Rodger's taste ran to Woody Herman, Count Basie, and other big bands from the 40s that he heard at home, which were Bill and Edie's favorites. For the school's International Foods Day, other classmates brought casseroles of chili, turkey tetrazzini, yes, I kid you not, and in my case, lasagna. Rodger's mom, Edie, she sent him in with platters of kasha varnishes. Having myself joined the class 2 years prior, I knew it wasn't easy joining a grade where most of the kids have been together since kindergarten. But within weeks, and this will not surprise you, Rodger had disarmed everyone, teachers and headmaster included, with his sense of humor, his charm, and his warmth. Rodger and I gravitated to each other early on. Perhaps it was because we both felt a little bit like outsiders, perhaps because we shared the same taste in music, particularly in jazz, perhaps because it just made it easy to cut up and be goofy together, along with our other close friend in the grade, George Schuler. Rodger spent a ton of time at my parents' house growing up, and he became like a son to my mom and dad. While we saw less of each other during college and grad school, we remained very close. Rodger was a huge influence and hugely supportive of my decision to marry Sally. And he built close relationships with each of our two kids, Sam and Sophie. He came down to New York several times a year to hear live jazz. It became a ritual to go see the Thad Jones, Mel Lewis Big Band at the Village Vanguard with him and George when they played on Monday nights. Raj joined our family for Christmas almost every year, and he would bring along with him a turkey that he had brined and insisting he was celebrating Festivus, taking a page from Seinfeld. He showed up with bagels, lox, whitefish from Barry's and Newton, or Russ and Daughters from the Lower East Side of Manhattan, along, of course, with Mr. T's Bloody Mary mix for the ritual morning after brunch, and a couple of cases of Native Brands bottled water. I've given a lot of thought, as has Howard, to what it was about Raj that drew us all so close to him, fostering connections with people from so many different circles in his life, and whether there are any common threads. I'll share with you a few that come to mind. Rodger was intensely loyal to his family, to his friends, and to the institutions that shaped him and mattered to him. He was, to give you a few examples, deeply committed to Camp Young Judea, to the Park School, his high school reunions, as Howie's mentioned. More recently, to the Park Alumni Annual Fund, the City of Newton Election Commission. Gives you an idea of the range of causes and institutions that were so important to him. When my dad passed away, without being asked, Rodger pitched in with the logistics of the memorial service, picking up relatives at Logan, helping with the sound system at the church, sitting with us at our house after people had left. When a close friend was diagnosed with breast cancer, he accompanied her every step of the way throughout her journey to recovery. While sparks could fly in his relationship with his mom, Edie, Raj was devoted to her, as Rabbi mentioned and as Howard mentioned, as he was to Bill after Edie passed away. As Bill got older and needed more attention, Rodger moved in with Bill, took him to his appointments, made meals for him, found him a job as a greeter at TJ Maxx, made sure he was taken care of, in other words. When Raj came to New York to visit us, he would of course leave several prepared meals in the freezer for Bill. No way would Raj have dreamt of leaving Bill, even if it meant that sleeping on his dad's couch put a little bit of a crimp in his romantic life. Rodger also understood that all relationships go through rough patches where there are misunderstandings and tensions. Rodger had a keen sense of how to navigate those rough patches. His philosophy was that preserving relationships is just way more important than being in the right on a point of principle. In his words, he would tell me, "Boy, chick, tell him you love him and give him a big hug." Rodger showed up for the important moments in life. Raj came to Cleveland for Sally's and my wedding. I think he may even have helped me memorize my wedding vows in Hebrew. When our son Sam was born, he drove down to New York for Sam's bris, bearing the baby rocker as a gift. He was there for our daughter Sophie's baby name. He was there for Sam's bar mitzvah, along with Edie and Bill, as well as for Sophie's and Sally's bar mitzvah. I think he not so secretly took pride in the fact that Koch was raising his kids in the Jewish faith. I think if I had converted, he would have waded into the mikveh, the ritual immersion. He was present with us for the big birthdays. I think being present for these life events, aside from the pleasure it gave him to participate in his friends' joyous moments, may also have been a way for him to fill a hole that he may have felt, having found his lifelong goal to build a life that included starting a family, to be elusive. Finally, Rodger was resilient. Life, as we all know, dealt Rodger a large dose of adversity and setbacks in his health, his business, his relationships. As Howie commented, and as the rabbi commented, Rodger was a private person, and he chose not to share much information about those setbacks. If you didn't hear from him for a few weeks or months at a time, it was often related to a health or financial issue that Edie or he was going through. And when he resurfaced, you wouldn't be able to pull much out of him about it. But he did not want to focus on himself. He just picked himself up and kept going. It was the same during his battle with glioblastoma. While he was open about the anxiety he felt about dying, I didn't once hear him complain, "Why me?" or engage in self-pity. After his last brain scan on March 30, which showed that his tumor had stopped responding to the chemo, when asked if he understood what that meant, he responded, giving a thumbs up. "The Rodger team is winning, right?" I could recount many more stories and examples of the core values that made Rodger the authentic guy that he was. Instead, I'll close with some acknowledgments. We want to thank Rodger's devoted caregivers in the last few months: Roscoe, David, Mohammed, and John Baptiste. We are grateful to Mary Jo Boynton, Rodger's case manager at Life Care Advocates, for her expert counsel and guidance during the final stages of Rodger's journey. We want to thank my mom, Mary Pachi, who was unable to be here today, for making it possible for Rodger to have live-in care these last few months. We want to thank Rodger's many, many friends for the countless visits to him in the hospital and at Howie and Jane's, from which Rodger drew strength, support, and encouragement. I also want to call out Karen Laufer for helping with several administrative matters during this period as part of what we call Team Rodger. I want to thank Howie, Jane, Hope, and Scoop for opening up their home to Rodger and creating a peaceful, loving, and calming oasis, looking out over a beautiful pasture for Rodger's final passage. Finally, I want to thank Kate for her loving kindness to Rodger and for being at his side to help him face and overcome many difficult moments in his glioblastoma journey. Farewell, my Deutsche.
When I went out to see Rodger last week, I had noticed there were a lot of guitars at the house, and I actually grabbed one of them to borrow that day, that beautiful Taylor. And I saw Rodger's guitar too, so I can't think of anything more fitting, a piece that's truly a folk piece. This is a piece by Warren Zevon that he wrote when he was suffering with cancer and later succumbed to it. It's called "Keep Me in Your Heart." The chorus goes, "Keep me in your heart for a while," and after about one time through, I thought that birdie would be joining me too, but I invited you to join me. Shadows are falling, and I'm running out of breath. Keep me in your heart for a while. If I leave you, it doesn't mean I love you any less. Keep me in your
May Rodger's soul rest in peace. And we all say, if you please rise.
תחת כנפי השכינה, כי אם קדושים וטהורים, כזורקי המזהירים את נשמת ראובן בן רחל גדל ודית, שהלך לעולמו. ועל הרחמים יסתירהו, וסתר כנפיו לעולמים. יצרור לחיים את נשמתו, אדוני הוא נחלתו. ינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר
Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Rodger Cohen, who has entered eternity. God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence. Let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. And together we say, Amen.
And at this time, I'd like to invite the designated pallbearers. Please join me here in the center aisle.
Thank you.